in the All-Star game. Don't forget about that, because for Dwane Casey and his staff, it says so much about them and what they've been able to do here in their time together, Jack.
Well earned, well deserved. Congratulations to Coach Casey and his staff, and I'm sure they'll be thrilled having an opportunity to coach in the All-Star game, and I'm sure there's another feather they'd like to get in that cap, and that would be an appearance in the NBA Finals. It's all part of the process of building right now.
Coach, come on, baby. Coach, come on, Coach. Coach, come on, Coach. Hey, look at this ass. Coach, come on, Coach. Bring it in. Bring it in. Come on, Coach. Bring it in. Come on, get his ass whooping, Coach. Coach, come on, get his ass whooping. Come on, Coach. Come on, Coach. Hey, bring his ass whooping. Hey. Good job, Coach, go see it, Coach. Bring it in.
Look, no game in January or February means anything in May or June. But at the same time, it's a measuring stick. It's what do we need to work on? What might we see from these guys later? It's just a little bit of an alert, although like it's not going to make or break your season.
I laugh at people. They always say, well, it's a regular season game. Well, think about it like this. If I beat you 4 times during the regular season, why do you think come playoff time, you automatically, your mind is going to turn and you're going to beat me? I mean, so it's important. People just don't understand that. You're sending a message. You're planting that seed of doubt. Whenever I get you down, if I've beaten you 4 times and I get you down early in that 3rd quarter, that doubt creeps in. Oh, here we go again. We can't beat them. So that's what these games are about. That's what the regular season is about. Not just to win a division or make the playoffs, but it's putting that doubt in your opponent's mind. Can I impose my will on this team tonight?
The deep Rick, rack it up, book it and book it. And 1. DeRozan heating up.
This is just one game. This is a terrific Celtic ball club. And this is just one game. So it's about establishing habits. And when this game ends tonight, it looks like Toronto's going to win it. Guess what? You're still the 2nd seed. They're still the big king on the block. They still have the 1st seed. And in order to develop and grow from this moment, this Celtic team had a 16-game winning streak this season. The Raptors' longest one was 6. So if you're going to be a 1st seed, you got to go on a roll and sustain it.
Here's Miles. Miles from Baltic. I'll tell you what, tonight, Raptors, what a performance, Jack. They really, you have to credit Dwane Casey getting his team prepared for this night.
They played great. You know, Coach Casey always talks about when you play really good people, you better have your high beams on. They had their high beams on tonight. They were ready for this game, and from start to the 43-minute mark so far, they have been the better team.
Credit Dwane Casey and his magnificent staff. Credit every player tonight for the Toronto Raptors and the intensity that they brought. The Raptors will improve to 37-16. They're a game back of Boston in the East. They are an NBA best 22-4 at home. They end the 4-game win streak of the Celtics.
You didn't chalk up into one of those nights?
No, we got our butts kicked by a really good team who physically overwhelmed us from a speed and physicality standpoint. We need to do a better job.
Come on!
Could you call that a statement game at all, or just another game?
Another game. Every game is a statement game for us to be able to get better, to move forward, move in the right direction. And tonight happened to be against a very great team, and we put out a game, like we expected to, especially on the home floor.
The easy thing to do is let it down. We're playing well. Let's keep it going. Tomorrow, here we go. Here we go.
Win. Together on three. 1, 2, 3. Together.
You could say, well, the Raptors might need this, might need that, but do they really need anything? No. I think this team is good enough right now that they can, if they play hard, if they play well, if they play together and do all things they're capable of doing, they're good enough right now to possibly come out of the East. There's no guarantee that, one, you're going to get somebody that financially makes sense, chemistry-wise makes sense, and is going to be the answer for you. When I'm looking around, I don't know if I necessarily see that person out there right now.
I don't think they need anything. Well, you can always add shooting, but I wouldn't gut my team. I wouldn't give up any more first-round picks, not to rent a guy for half season. The only way you do that, you got to feel in your heart and mind, and it's got to be concrete that this guy can take your team to another level. And when I look at the Toronto Raptors, look, unless you're they don't need a starter. Their bench has been one of the best in the league. So, yeah, if you can add a shooter, it's fine, but what are you going to have to give up to do that? And that's the question.
I think we're in a pretty good spot now to where I don't think we need to react to other teams' decisions around the trade deadline. I think we can worry about ourselves, and if something presents itself that will make our team better, then it makes sense, and we'll make a move in that situation. But it doesn't make sense to really watch the headlines and worry about what other teams are doing, because I think that we've put ourselves in a position now to where we can somewhat control our situation and put together the team that we feel can compete in the Eastern Conference.
It's an exciting time in the Eastern Conference. I think Cleveland has once again thrown down the gauntlet that we're not going down without a fight. And I think if you're Toronto, if you're Boston and Washington and Miami and Milwaukee and all those teams, you're in for a fight. But that doesn't mean that Cleveland, even though they made all those trades today, that doesn't mean they're guaranteed to go to the NBA Finals. You got to go out and play the games. And I think if you look at how the Raptors and the Celtics have played, and I put them together, I think if you look at those two teams and see how they've played this year, I think we need to be talking more about them. And I think if you can, like Toronto, like Boston, kind of in the background, just take care of your business and continue to build good habits, who's to say that one of you guys aren't in the NBA Finals instead of the Cleveland Cavs?
NBA trade deadline coming and going at 3 o'clock Eastern earlier today. The Toronto Raptors with one minor move.
I kind of feel bad for Bruno. I think a lot of things were said when he got drafted simply because people didn't really know much about him. So a lot of people said things that weren't necessarily fair to him. I also think that his first year hurt him. Raptors didn't have a G League team.
But my message here,
and it was just a difficult environment. You don't really speak the language. You're just showing up at practice. You get shipped out to a D League team somewhere else. Nobody's really taking a vested interest in what you're doing when you're with that team.
Alternate.
And it's foreign from what you're doing when you're with the main team. So I think that first year set him back to some degree.
And the Raptors made great progress subsequent to that with the G League, but he really never got over that hump. He never got over that hump to take that next step. I'm hoping for his sake that there's more opportunities for him. He's still a young guy. His body's incredible. He's long. Maybe either continuing on in a G League environment or playing overseas. And still hoping for that NBA opportunity. The nice thing is, throughout all this time, he's gotten paid, so he's got some money, and he's got a cushion to keep working on his dream if that's what he wants.
I'm hopeful for a guy like Bruno that he gets another opportunity in the NBA. If he doesn't, I hope he has a good run overseas. But nonetheless, I think he's had 3.5 years, more than 3.5 years, and at some point in time, you got to get it done. That's the reality of pro sports in an era where people make big investments, and at some point in time, you got to look and say, hey, what can we get? And if you think that Malachi Richardson can maybe develop into something that Bruno couldn't, then you got to make that move.
You guys here? There he is. Malachi. Malachi, I'm Kevin, man. Nice to meet you. Welcome aboard. CJ, sign her up. Usually we have a boarding pass here for you. We don't have one today. They're going to give it to you when you get over to the airport, okay? Okay. We'll look for some of these Delta people as soon as you get off the bus. Okay. I'll try to help you. We're going to tag this. It'll go underneath the plane. You won't see it again until we get to Charlotte. Okay. Cool?
Is there anything else I need to do?
Nope. Nope, we're good right now. You got your passport with you?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, cool. We're good.
He could shoot. I always liked Malachi. I thought he should have stayed in school another year. But he's got good size, 6'6", can shoot the basketball, can run the floor, he's athletic. And he really hasn't had an opportunity, I think, to shine in Sacramento. I've heard some comments where, well, here's a guy, he's not playing much on a bad team. Well, sometimes a bad team isn't very conducive to a shooter that can play without the basketball, get you shots, and do all kinds of other things. So I don't know what the Raptors' plans are here. I know that if you're looking for shooting, this kid can shoot. And there's really no pressure to integrate him. It's different than if you bring in a name shooter. There's pressure to get him in. Right now, you have a guy that if you decide to see what he can do, there's kind of no pressure on how and when you want to do it. So it's really up to the Raptors if they're going to keep him, if they're going to give him a shot, or this is more of a money deal.
Man, the last few days have been crazy. Flying to Toronto, dealing with customs and all that stuff. Coming here and going to practice, and then just being around this great group of guys. You got all-stars on this team, guys that have been there, So I just want to learn from them, and it's been fun. But I definitely want to keep getting better and keep working my way into it.
And Dwane Casey is going to win his 300th game as the head coach of the Toronto Raptors. Dwane Casey's led this organization to the Eastern Conference Finals, to 4 consecutive trips to the postseason. They're currently in first place in the Eastern Conference, and he has won his 300th game.
Tomorrow we come in at noon. We're ready for Miami, short, about 30-35 minutes. Get out. We got double back-to-back coming up with Miami and Chicago.
Hold up. Congrats, Kate.
Come on, let's get out of here.
Together on 3, 1, 2, 3. Together.